people outside of the winter storm are going to be impacted by this storm, even without a flake of snow, a pellet of ice, or freezing rain. So we want to bring in Alex Wilson from the Weather Channel. She's joining us from Atlanta to kind of talk about the bigger picture. Alex, I know you've been super busy as well. You're also going to be impacted by this personally like we are. What's it been like down in Atlanta, at least locally getting ready? And then talk a little bit about the national perspective of this, because this is a massive winter storm.
Sure, absolutely. Nice to finally talk to you. I feel like I've known you forever via social media. And Tim, I know we go way back to Penn State meteorology back in like the, well, we don't need to talk about the
Another
time,
Penn
right?
Stater? What? Come on.
That's true. It's true. We're everywhere, right?
Dr. Neese's class.
Because, Yes. Oh my gosh, some of those, like I open up old books and you shudder, but it's okay. We learned a lot, right? You got to do it. Atlanta, I feel like ever since we had Snowmageddon in 2014, Atlantans, they're a little bit more, shall we say, sensitive to snow. So while I don't think that we're going to see the ice problems that you guys are going to see by a long shot, I do think we could see enough, especially as you get up in that northeast part of the city. That's where I think we're going to see some problems. And, like you guys have, my job before this was in Greenville, so very similar to Atlanta. It's a city and a forest, right? So you've got a lot of trees. All it takes is, a couple tree limbs to get coated. Those go down. And so I think power outages, while I don't think we're going to see the widespread that you guys see, I think, or at least the chance of widespread like you guys see, because I know you've been talking about the sleet potential too, and that'll be really interesting to see how that all works out, if we can keep a little bit more sleet going versus the freezing rain. But I think for us, there will be at least some sporadic power outages.
Yeah, and what's interesting when we look at this national map, Alex, we've got a lot of winter storm warnings, but we've got ice storm warnings for part of Mississippi, even northeast Louisiana, Arkansas, up into Tennessee. So it's like, how are you handling talking about this on a national scale when there's so many different type of impacts that this one storm is going to bring across the country?
It's a lot, right? So you've got to break it down segment by segment. You mentioned that Northwest Alabama. What's wild is they haven't been under an ice storm warning in about 5 years. Parts of northern Mississippi, the sections of Tennessee that are under it, it's been 3 years. One of our awesome weather producers, she ran the numbers and she's like, it has been 1,000 to 1,800 days since you guys have been under these kind of warnings. So the messaging gets hard, as you guys can imagine. When you're dusty at something, or rusty at something, you're like, shoot, I got to get myself back into thinking about ice storm warnings and about thinking about ice. I think the messaging for this nationally has been the snow, it's great, it'll shut things down for a short period of time, but we can generally, even those areas that aren't super snow savvy, we can get this cleaned up. The ice is the stuff that you just don't want people to go, oh, okay, well, it's only a little bit. It's not going to be a lot. And keeping people off the road, especially where you have ice that may be ending as some snow. So then you get that ice covered by snow and people forget about it. And then they just get out on the roads. And then we've got all sorts of issues. I'd like to think that Raleigh, Atlanta, we've seen enough of these events where it's gone bananas on a roadway that I like to think that most people know to not go out. And I think Sunday's going to help us. For you guys, I'm sure you agree, the timing is working in our favor, that people aren't tempted to go to work.
Yeah, it's a lot better that it's on a weekend, I think, for sure, because you don't have that commute aspect. To me, always the stressful thing with these is if you got kids in school and you're worried about the dismissal times, that's not going to be a factor either. But what you were saying, Alex, is really interesting because in our climate here in the Carolinas, we should be kind of used to these. Maybe not every year, but at least every couple of years, we do tend to get one of these big ones. We haven't had many big ones over the last 10 years. And Brad mentioned this the other day. There's so many people that have moved in from Pennsylvania, from the Northeast, from wherever they might be. And I had a buddy who moved to Charlotte. He said, Tim, it never really is going to get that bad this weekend, is it? And I was like, no, you don't understand. We get real winter weather here. And so it'll be interesting to see how people react to it across the South that haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, that I-85 corridor, you're right. It's tricky because I always go back to when I worked in Greenville, South Carolina. My biggest bust was a freezing rain event, and it was one of those ones where you expect and anticipate, and the models say that warm air is going to eventually erode that wedge. It's going to get moving. It's going to get moving, and it just did not get moving. And it was one of those ones where you're just banging your head against the desk because you're like, and then there are ones where you expect that wedge to set up so intently and it doesn't do it at all. So the wedge is, I think it's Jen Carfagno who says, like, we live and die by the east wind here, and you truly do in situations like this. But I do think that people are always very surprised by the intensity of the winter weather that you can get. We think of the upstate as, the Carolinas. We think of like Charlotte as, oh, it's the Carolinas. But these areas have that unique setup that puts them in prime spot for some of these winter events.
Yeah, that's so true. It's you kind of learn that by trial by fire here sometimes.
Oh, yes. And crying at your desk, right?
Yes. Hey, Alex, I said I used to have hair before I moved to the Carolinas. I tell people that's what it's like forecasting here. It's like, it's brutal because the cold air damming, it always stays longer than you expect. It's stronger than it is. It's really hard to forecast. Guidance is almost useless. It's really trial and error and experience. But I want to ask you another question about this storm because can you remember? I was trying to think about this today. We were talking in the office. I can't remember a storm that was this widespread over the United States in a while. Did you guys look at how widespread this is and when the last time we've had one this affecting so many people across the eastern part of the country?
I don't know that we ran the number on exact, population and when the last time we had a storm this expansive, but I know it's more than 20 states seeing, huge snowfall amounts. So we've got, you look at this, it's what? Plains, Southern Plains, Mid-South, Tennessee Valley, Southeast, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, and now that the storm looks to be taking more of a Euro track and moving up into the New England states, now you've got like Boston, Southern New England in play. So, it's taking the scenic route because you don't have, the true nor'easter that kind of leaves out other areas off to the west. And you've also got the similarities of things like what we called Cora last year, the one that went through the southeast, brought Atlanta some big snow, but didn't necessarily, cause problems farther north. So this one's taking such a unique track. But that's actually a really good question. So I'm going to have us run the numbers tomorrow or tonight while we're doing research. Right? We're always looking for new stats on this.
I think you could probably pull up the square mileage of the watch area and try to figure that out. It'd be kind of cool to figure that out.
It's insane, yeah. Just the amount of, we have to do so many regions because you just can't, even to get close enough where people could make out their neighborhood or, their part of the state. If we showed the national map, there's just colors everywhere.
Yeah, I got a question for you. You guys do a great job covering these. How many crews are you guys going to have spread out? Do you have enough people to cover this one?
It's getting, we're getting stretched out. We're like a game of Twister right now here, right? I think we've got 7 crews. So I believe we've got Dallas, we've got Little Rock, do we have Oklahoma City? We'll have Asheville, we will have Nashville, we will have Washington, D.C., we have Philly, I believe we have New York.
Ow.
And I'm thinking, so we've got all the real estate, and then obviously, you've got crews that are able to, give us coverage. And of course, viewers will send pictures. And I know it gets to be a lot of the country. You guys are in deep with all sorts of precip types in your own area. So having enough crews in the regional spaces to really tell the story, they're really strategic with where they're sending everybody out.
You're having to talk about this storm, many days ahead of time, like we all do nowadays. We're looking at it in advance, and you're seeing it the whole country. Are you kind of blown away, or are we all just used to it by now, how the models just kind of, these wild shifts? And you probably get feedback from all corners of the country. Like a couple days ago, didn't look like a New England storm. Well, now it is.
Right.
So what's that like?
100%.
Daily?
I think it means you have to be really measured, and I know you guys do the same thing. You have to be measured in the communication that you're putting out at the time, right? So Monday and Tuesday, you're pretty general in the forecast. You're pretty general in the impacts and the locations, right? Because we've all learned this too many times. You see a storm that's a slam dunk for this area, and then the next day you see it shift 100 miles north. And now it's no longer, look at Nashville earlier this week. If we would have sung from the rooftops that Nashville was going to see 2 feet of snow, the next morning you wake up, Nashville's barely in the snow now, and now we're looking at significant ice. So I think with these kind of systems, as opposed to what you guys deal with, the social media where it's, one snapshot of one run of one model at hour 2:16, you have to, really be careful and thoughtful and really be honest about what you don't know at that point, because everybody
Yeah.
wants the answers, and it's real easy to go, this is what's going to happen. But I think you also have to be very transparent with what you don't know.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm a big fan of that. Is like, here's what we know and don't know, and I think that's transparency in the forecast process. So, Alex, thanks so much. I know you're super busy,
Sure.
and hopefully it's a great weekend for you, and you're not stuck there all weekend. But be safe out there. We'll appreciate it. We'll be catching your coverage.
Thank
I know
you.
everybody will be glued to it as well as across the entire country.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you guys are going 24/7, so good luck to you. I know you guys. I'm actually going to be watching your social medias and stuff because you guys are really in the thick of it, and I'm hopeful it's more sleet for you guys.
Oh, my fingers are crossed. I hope it
Yeah.
is too. We don't want the power outages, that's for sure.